you were talking about favorite games. I actually have an official top 10 favorite games.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you might.
pardon my clicking and stuff. I was searching for it, but I found it.
Oh, cool. Hit a
Yeah,
few more
this.
of yours at least.
I can go through the whole thing if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
So, one of these actually is a little outdated. I probably would not have that on here anymore, but I will go through the whole thing. Number
Hmm.
10 is Red Dead Redemption. The first one, not the
Okay.
second one.
Have you
That's
played the
a.
second one?
I have not. I'm not really interested in it either.
That's fair.
But the first one, John Marston is a really compelling character. It's just a really fun game.
It's kind
With
of
a
like
really
a
good story.
Western GTA, isn't it?
Sort of. It definitely has like the mission structure and everything of it. Yeah, not a whole lot of stealing and stuff you can do in the first one at least.
Gotcha. I haven't played a lot of. Actually, I haven't played any of Red Dead Redemption, and I haven't really seen any gameplay. All of what I know about that game is the cover and hearsay.
Number 9 is Morrowind.
Oh man. Speaking of gaming memories, our group kind of played Morrowind a lot when we were younger.
Yeah, we
Um,
never really got anywhere because it's a complicated game, but
it truly is. So basically, we would just kind of run around and do stuff,
yeah.
which was fun by itself, like kind of getting new gear, quote unquote, leveling up.
Yeah, it's got a really interesting world, which once you actually are old enough to appreciate it, the lore is really interesting.
Right.
And the main quest is really unique among Elder Scrolls games, at least the ones that came after, because like the future ones are like, oh, you are the chosen one right off the bat and all that, and just sort of spoon feeding you everything, and in Morrowind, the first thing is like, okay, go learn the history of Morrowind, find primary sources.
Yeah. That I definitely remember. I got that game with my original Xbox because I think it was, if it wasn't a launch title, it was pretty darn close to the beginning. So I didn't have any
Yes.
special edition. I just had OG Morrowind.
Yes.
And I remember after a while kind of getting back into it because I didn't understand it when I was a little kid. It didn't make any sense to me. But kind of getting into it later, once you had kind of gotten into it, I was playing it and I was just running around killing things like I do. And I remember killing somebody and this screen pops up saying like, this person was an important figure in a prophecy.
Yeah.
Uh,
A thread of fate is severed.
yeah. You can either revert back to your last save point or continue to live in this doomed world you've created.
Yeah.
And me, not having saved in like 2 hours, was like, doomed world it is. So, I definitely remember doing some sort of escort mission, having somebody follow me around, and at one point I just lost them somewhere. I was like, all right, well, I hope they're alive, and just kept going.
Yeah, the
Morrowind.
escort.
I haven't
the
thought
escort
about that in a
mission-
while.
Yeah, escort missions in Morrowind are rough.
Yeah, like stick to the main road, or you're not getting anywhere.
Nowhere fast, anyway.
True. What's your number 8? Unless you want to talk more about Morrowind.
Number 8 is the one that I probably would remove from this list, but it is Dragon Age Origins, which is still a
think
really
I've
cool game.
Heard of that game, but I don't know really anything about it.
It's sort of like a dark fantasy Lord of the Rings, where
Okay.
You're tasked with raising an army to fight off the Darkspawn, which are basically orcs.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about the game is the origins, where depending on your race and class, you get different start points, sort of like your origin story in a D&D game.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that's what I really liked about the game. Mechanically, I don't think it's the best RPG, but they certainly tried something different with it. And rogues are fun, and mages are super overpowered. But
Fair enough.
yeah, that's a cool game with some really cool characters. Number 7 is my favorite Star Wars thing. Not my favorite Star Wars game. My favorite Star Wars thing. Like, including the movies. It is Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Okay. As soon as you said including the movies, I started to piece together which game you were talking about.
Yeah, KOTOR 2 is phenomenal. It's like a deconstruction of Star Wars, and like the whole light side, dark side thing, and it's really cool. Yeah, everyone always talks about how cool the Grey Jedi are. This game has a Grey Sith.
I haven't played a lot of KOTOR or KOTOR 2. I think I've touched both games, but not really gotten into them.
Yeah.
So I don't know a lot about them, but I know the people who have played it like absolutely love those games.
Yeah, they're doing a remake of KOTOR 1, and I'm excited for that.
It's good that you're excited about it, because sometimes you hear remake and you start to cringe.
No, KOTOR 1 has definitely aged.
Yeah, it's pretty like... Isn't it kind of like random number generated, like when you're hitting something?
It's based on D&D 2nd edition, I want to say.
Ooh, yeah. That sounds like it could be kind of rough to play nowadays.
Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing, but it's definitely simplified, and they added a bunch of their own stuff. So, like, you know, instead of spells, you have force powers and all that. And KOTOR 2 really added a lot of feats and stuff to make the game a lot better. So, KOTOR 1 didn't have finesse, but you can get a finesse feat in KOTOR 2, so, like, any melee weapon is a finesse weapon.
Okay.
So you can just forget about strength, basically.
Fair enough.
Number 6 is Devil May Cry 3. I might replace that with Devil May Cry 5, but it's because, like, it's just a better game, I think. But Devil May Cry 3, I like the story more.
Okay.
Which might sound strange to some people, but I maintain that it has a good amount of depth to the story.
No, that sounds fair. I've only played a little bit of the first one with you, I think. The Devil May Cry series is a little foreign to me, but I get it, and I know a little bit of the history of it being like it started off as a Resident Evil sequel, but went in a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it was originally going to be one of the versions of Devil May Cry 4. Sorry, Resident Evil 4.
Which is also getting a remake.
Yeah, that seems strange to me.
It seems strange, but it also looks like a good update, so... Like, while I actually have beaten, for the first time, Resident Evil 4 not too long ago, like within a year. And that was a fun experience to finally go through and beat that. But I could see, especially with... I play another game I have for PS4 is the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah.
Which is a very solid update. Resident Evil 4 is fun, but it still kind of does the tank control thing. So I could see it being updated with some newer controls.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good about RE2 remake.
Yeah, Resident Evil 3 remake had some problems, but Resident Evil 2 is like one of the remake is like kind of a perfect survival horror game.
Yeah. But yeah, I would recommend the Devil May Cry series to you. Just skip 2.
Just skip 2?
Yeah, there's nothing worthwhile in 2. In fact, you probably could just start with 5. That one's the most open to beginners, mechanically. But you might be a little lost in the story. But if you're not there for the story entirely, then it's fine. Because, like, I don't blame you for not being there, for not being in Devil May Cry for the story.
Yeah, it's a pretty big, just kind of like action schlock kind of game on the surface, it looks like.
Yeah, there's some compelling characters, but ultimately that you pretty much hit the nail on the head.
What's your next one on the list?
Number 5 is Super Metroid.
Okay.
That's one
an oldie.
Yeah, it's an oldie, but it's one that I played just a few years ago, and I played Zero Mission before it, and I played Fusion after, so I kind of got the full experience. But Super Metroid was by far my favorite. It's so good.
Yeah, I've played a bit of that game, like a few hours. I didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't get very far into it in the
That's the
grand scheme of
beauty of it,
things.
though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is fun to get lost in there, and you do find things, and you can sequence break.
Yeah.
I haven't played them yet, but I actually recently bought a Wii U to somewhat complete my Nintendo collection, but also so I could get the Virtual Console games on there.
Yeah.
They had the 3-pack of the Metroid Prime games, and I want to go through those because it was only $20 to get the trilogy.
Ah.
And then I have Super Metroid on my SNES Classic.
Oh, you got one of those.
Yes, I managed to get an NES and SNES Classic.
Awesome.
I'm still kind of holding out for the N64 Classic, but I don't know if it'll ever actually happen with the way the Switch is doing their Virtual Console.
Yeah, I don't know about that. For one thing, I can't imagine it being cheap to make those controllers.
True. And like the SNES Classic had less games on it than the NES Classic, which means the N64 Classic would probably have even fewer.
Yeah.
And the games that they would pick, I probably own most of in one form or another. Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Star Fox, Banjo-Kazooie, things like that.
Yeah, I hear nothing but good about Star Fox 64. I've never played it, though, unfortunately.
I've never actually played it either. I own the cartridge, so I can play it someday, but I have never sat down and actually done it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of nostalgia for the bit of the original Star Fox.
That's my nostalgia for like Banjo-Kazooie and like Donkey Kong 64 do the same voices.
Yeah. Number 4 is Dark Souls.
Ooh.
Dark Souls is profoundly difficult.
I was going to ask, is Dark Souls still to this day your favorite Souls style game?
Yes, but the only other one I've played so far is Bloodborne.
Okay, and you still like Dark Souls better than Bloodborne?
Yes.
I've played a little bit of Bloodborne, a little bit of Dark Souls, but I had a bad experience with it because I played it on the Switch with a little bit of like drifting Joy-Cons.
Oh no.
I would like to play it again because I have like a GameCube controller and I could see that potentially being an effective controller to play that game with. But the Joy-Cons was not an effective experience for that game.
Well, you kind of need 4 shoulder buttons for Dark Souls, so I don't know if a GameCube controller would work.
So I've got the Switch version of the controller, so it does have 2 shoulder buttons.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. It doubles as a Switch Pro controller.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I think I would actually be a good controller to play that with.
Yeah, and I imagine it's somewhat active right now because Elden Ring has been so popular.
Probably.
And the multiplayer aspect of Dark Souls is really interesting. So
yeah, in terms of aesthetic, I prefer Bloodborne a little bit more. I like that kind of gothic, Victorian.
Yeah, it's definitely Victorian.
Yeah. I like that aesthetic of like the atmosphere a little bit better, which is why I was kind of curious, like about your opinion that one versus Dark Souls.
Yeah, Dark Souls, I think it may just be because it's the Souls game I played first.
Mm-hmm.
And got the most into. Like I've played it the most times. It's also less brutal than Bloodborne is.
Fair.
Bloodborne is... Dark Souls you can really cheese and make not that difficult. Bloodborne is, as the meme says, get good or die.
And now, yeah, I know... Because there's a few Soul styles Souls style games out there now.
Yeah.
Because there's, I think, 3 Dark Souls.
Yes, as well as Demon Souls.
And I think there's a new one of that, isn't there?
There was a remake of Demon Souls, yeah.
Gotcha. Then there's... They just came out with there was a Souls style Star Wars game that came out.
Yeah, Fallen Order.
Yeah, that's it. Sekiro?
Yeah, I hear. Yeah, Sekiro is by the same developers, but I hear that it's very different and not really a Souls-like game.
Okay. I thought I heard like the controls were similar. Maybe that's what I heard. But I guess maybe it's not about fighting giant monsters or whatever.
I hear that. I mean, at least I hear that it's very different, and the people that I listen to don't consider it a Souls-like game. So,
that's fair. I heard about it when it came out, and not a lot since. And then most recently, Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Has boomed.
Absolutely, it has.
If it was on the Switch, I would definitely get it. I know it's on the PS4, but it kind of falls into that, like, will I actually play it if I buy it?
Yeah.
And the answer is maybe.
Yeah, Elden Ring is a commitment, because it's very long.
Have you touched that one at all?
I have not. I want to play Dark Souls 3 first.
Gotcha.
Dark Souls 2 is another one that I hear you can skip.
I've heard that it's an okay game, but it's a bad Dark Souls game.
Yeah, it was made by the B team, and, what they really latched onto was everyone going, oh man, it's so hard. So they apparently made it pretty unfair.
Nice.
Number 3 is Undertale.
Oh, I all the Undertale I've played is when we went through that bit.
Yeah, I would.
And it's still, I've only seen that much of the game.
I'm so sorry we never finished it.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's a very cute, very meta game.
Yes.
And with all the contextual saving and all that, and which evolves later on, and there's even like a thing about completionism where there's a completely alternate way to play the game where if you kill absolutely everything, it basically turns into a horror game where you're the monster. And that's also how you get to the hardest boss in the game, which took me like 2 weeks to beat.
Oh my god. And then there's the pacifist run, right?
Yeah, which is the true way to play, basically.
Which is interesting, like, because you sat me in front of that game and told me nothing. I think you might have, like, led me to, like, a hint or two, like, hey, you can always just, like, reset the game kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that, and Flowey got mad at me.
Yeah.
I reset the game having killed, like...
Torio.
Yeah. And Flowey's like, I know what you did. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Undertale is unfortunately one of those games that kind of got run into the ground by the internet. So I'm glad that you missed out on all that, because otherwise I'm afraid you might have a negative view of the game. But, right, but it's just one of those. It's just one of those things that, if you get into it, then you're gonna really get into it.
Yes. So I'm intrigued that it's still like in your top 3 after all this time.
Oh yeah, it gets very emotional, very affecting, and kind of changed the way I look at video game stories. So that's why it's so high.
I see. I like it because it, like, at least aesthetically and, like, emotionally, it definitely pulled some inspiration from things like Earthbound.
Absolutely.
Which I absolutely love Earthbound. That would definitely be in my top 5 games for sure. It might even beat out Battlefront 2 nowadays.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm playing through it again now, and it's just so charming. And it has a very interesting battle style, and the characters you just want to see be okay.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's also an RPG set in modern times with weapons like baseball bats and psychic powers instead of swords and magic.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and I definitely understand why so many people have latched onto it over the years.
Yeah, I could never get into Earthbound. It's too weird for me, I think.
And I think I can understand that too. But it definitely, I played through it a couple years ago, and like I said, I'm playing through it again now. And it's really good. I really love Earthbound.
Yeah. My number 2 is Kingdom Hearts 2, which is the first video game I ever beat.
I was trying to think of what was the first game I ever beat. And I can't quite put my finger on it because I go through a lot of games without beating them.
Yeah.
The only one I can maybe think of is maybe like Pokemon Yellow. Might have been the first one I beat. Or Silver version, because I remember actually fighting Red at the end of Silver version. But those are like the earliest 2 games I can think of that might have been my first completion.
Yeah, Pokemon. Maybe I beat a Pokemon game before Kingdom Hearts 2, but Kingdom Hearts 2 definitely stood out in my memory because the finale is so bombastic and anime. And, you know, I was always into anime as a kid and all that, so seeing it take that turn was like, oh man, this is the coolest thing ever. They're like chopping up buildings and flying around like Dragon Ball Z.
I haven't seen a lot of Kingdom Hearts. I'd say I've seen a fair amount of the first game. I've seen the beginning of the second game and not a lot else in that one, except for I remember Austin fighting against Sephiroth in that game.
Yeah.
And I know that must be toward the end of the game.
God, that game gave me a legitimate fear that lasts to this day of Sephiroth.
Well,
his music scares me.
Now you can play him in Smash Bros.
Oh God, the fear.
The fear. And then, yeah, and I guess and your number 1 is still Skies of Arcadia, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just gotta say about Skies of Arcadia, the pacing is so strong in that game.
Yeah.
You know, like just it's got a really strong beginning and it just keeps going. As a kid, I could never really get past the first visit to Valua, I think. You know, because there's 2 bosses in a row and I did not like grinding.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe the farthest I ever got as a kid was Ixataka. I saw my dad get farther, but I never saw him finish the game. Like,
Right.
I saw him go to Soltis. No, not Soltis. The moon. The Silver Moon. As a kid, and that was wild. But I hadn't watched, like, all of the game with him, so I was a little lost.
Right. Getting to the Silver Moon in that game is weird.
Yeah.
Because that's around that time you start to, like, question good and evil.
Yeah.
Which is always a cool thing in video games. Like, you realize, like, while Ramirez is definitely a bad guy, you start to kind of see, like, oh, but this is why.
Yeah.
Even though these guys are perceived as good, they're misguided at this point, especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you think, like, they can't be, like, they must be good. Like, look at Fina.
Yeah.
She's, like, the essence of just, like, pure good.
Yes. I love Fina.
All the characters are really good. Oh,
Except
Drachma. Love Drachma.
Love Drachma.
Love Drachma. Yeah, Vice is really good. Aika's really good.
I think Vice might be the reason I'm so stubborn sometimes.
I would love to see, like, it'd be really cool if they did, like, an anime short of Skies of Arcadia. I wouldn't necessarily want to see a series on it, but, like, some sort of, like, anniversary animation of it or something like a...
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think I'm stubborn sometimes because of Vice. Like, I'll just be like, screw this, I give up. And then I like hear in my mind, did you just say you're giving up? It's like, no, Vice, I'm not giving up.
I'll have to come up with my top 10 before I kind of do my next iteration of this, because I want to go through this same idea with Isaac and same idea with Austin, because I have different video game memories with each person, and some of them overlap. Like, I'm definitely going to be talking about Smash Bros. Melee with probably every person.
Yeah.
We didn't talk a lot about it, but it did come up, and I knew it was going to. Because Smash Bros. In general is just kind of like one of the ultimate shareable games.
Yeah, absolutely.
That and Mario Kart, which we didn't talk about a lot, but we've even got our memories there.
Oh god, speaking of Smash Bros, though, I just remembered something that happened a few years ago when we were revisiting that game.
Mm-hmm.
I picked Fox, and I was just running around doing down B, nothing but, and you could not beat it.
I don't even remember that, but that sounds like I would get pretty mad.
I think you were laughing too hard to get mad, because I was like, yeah, Pro Smash!
I hate it.
I saw this online, this is what they do in Pro Smash.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Well, I think this was a success. I really enjoyed talking video games with you again.
I enjoyed it too.
It's been a while, but we got some good. I feel like we got some good conversations going.
Yes.
Brought back some good memories. Got to both together and just of like thinking about unboxing a console, especially when you're a child, is just this like really warm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I missed it with the Wii and the Wii U, but the GameCube and the Switch, I have that, and the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, I don't even remember unboxing my GameCube. Like, I vaguely remember unboxing my Super Nintendo, but
I have one last memory that's somewhat video game related. It's video game related for sure, but it's not necessarily about the video game itself. I remember when we were kids, we had our plastic lightsabers.
Yes.
And I had my original Xbox, and I'd been playing Star Wars Obi-Wan a lot,
mm-hmm.
which might not be a good game by today's standards, but I loved it when I was a kid. And I just remember standing in your yard, imitating Obi-Wan's like, "Defend yourself," as he would throw the spinning lightsaber.
Oh, I remember this now.
Yeah, and I would just like throw it into your grass. Like, defend yourself.
Yeah, that's such a you move.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, I thought about that earlier, and I almost forgot to bring it up. I was like, this has to be brought up. It's only Kendall will understand this. Because who remembers Star Wars Obi-Wan? Nobody remembers that game. But I remember that game.
I've seen some videos on it.
Really?
Yeah.
I see it brought up every now and then, but it's a very in passing, like, this game came out, and this game came out, and this game came out, and Star Wars Obi-Wan came out, and this game came out, and like, that's usually the most I hear about it, is that it existed.
And hey, they just recently did an adaptation of that game.
Oh, I watched it. I liked it, but it had problems.
Yeah, so did I.
But I think people are being too hard on that show. I had a really good time watching it.
Well, it calls back to the prequels. Of course people are being hard on it.
Well, it was more like the acting that people were really getting hard on. And, like, I don't know. I thought it was fine. It was very Star Wars-y, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was like, this is no worse than regular Star Wars acting, guys. Calm down.
Yeah.
But, yes, we'll have to touch on Star Wars at some point. I think that'd be a good topic for you and I.
Yeah.
Because I've seen most of the main Star Wars media out there.
I have finished Clone Wars recently, actually.
Oh, that'd be a good one to talk about.
Yes, but I have not started Rebels yet.
Rebels is also a good one to talk about for different reasons.
Yeah, a friend of mine The friend that I was watching it with decided that they wanted to watch Boruto instead, despite never watching Naruto, as a joke.
All right. Rebels is really good at parts and really bad at others, because it follows the same characters throughout the series. Like with Clone Wars, if you get like a bad episode, it's usually because like the characters aren't interesting in that one, or it's just kind of a weak story. But moving to the next episode, you're probably gonna get something interesting, or you might move into a good arc kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's really good about Rebels is most of the time when it calls back to Clone Wars and not when it's being its own show.
Yeah.
But it's not bad either. Like I think it's worth a watch. I don't think I'd ever watch the whole thing again, but there are probably arcs in Rebels I would watch again.
All right.
So I put my seal of approval as in like you should give it a watch, especially if you're a Star Wars fan.
I will, at some point. And hey, maybe we can do something else like what we just did, because along with my top 10 games list, I also found my top 10 anime list, and maybe you could make one too.
I will do my best, but it might be more like a top 8.
That's fair.
But I've been watching a little bit more anime recently, so I might be able to compile a top 10.
Awesome.
All right, well, it's been fun. This has been fine.
Yeah, it's good, y'all.